So Pat Robertson has some surprising thoughts on U.S. foreign policy. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. This isn't surprising at all. It should be, but it's not. Here he is talking about Venezuela, a topic that I'm sure he knows a lot about.
It's time for action, and the OAS, the Organization of American States, needs to come together, and it may be it's got to have the Americans to lead it. But I could see, we have very effective drones. We have what are called Hellfire missiles that can be fired from drones, and I believe it's time to give Mr. Maduro a little taste of what he's been doing to the opposition.
I think it's bad guy down there in Venezuela. I think we gotta go after him. He making the U.S. less safe. Who will protect Toledo, Ohio from Maduro? Say it with me, folks. Radical Venezuelan terrorism. Radical Venezuelan terrorists gonna come after us. I think we ought to drone them. That seems like a good idea. Have I mentioned that Jesus is the person whose philosophy I base mine off of? I love Jesus so much. I love how he's totally pro-peace. Anyway, back to droning.
Come on, man. What the fuck is wrong with you, Pat? Did you know Jesus, according to Jesus, in most of his moods in the New Testament, the dude wouldn't even do violence for defensive reasons. This is actually not a planned advertisement for Big Seltzer, although it's working out to be that way. Except this is not Big Seltzer. This one's Small Seltzer, because it's a very weird brand. But anyway. Had part of a granola bar stuck in my throat. Anyway, where was I? Jesus isn't even for violence, for defensive purposes. He said, turn the other cheek. And what that means is, if somebody hits you on one cheek, you turn the other cheek and you say, okay, hit this one too. So that is true pacifism. So not even for defensive reasons do you do violence, because violence is inherently evil. You believe, as a matter of principle, any kind of violence, even defensive violence, is wrong. That's Jesus in most of his moods in the New Testament. So, for Pat Robertson to not even argue just, hey, self-defense, which is my standard for violence, I think it's totally rational and moral to do violence for self-defense. But he's saying, no, let's do offensive violence against them because he's evil. He's an evil, bad dictator. I don't even like him. He's so bad. Any thoughts on the fact that the U.S. supports 73% of the world's dictatorships, Pat? Any thoughts on the current Rohingya genocide going on in Myanmar, a country which, by the way, is an ally of ours? Any thoughts on the current bombing and starvation of Yemen, which the U.S. is helping? Saudi Arabia is committing a genocide in Yemen. Do you have any thoughts on perhaps overthrowing Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia? Anything at all? Nothing? No? It's almost like you use your platform to be a mouthpiece for U.S. foreign policy and the military-industrial complex. I guess it's a good thing that nobody's listening to anymore. But Jesus Christ, it really is stunning, no pun intended by saying Jesus Christ, that a dude who pretends to be all about religion and Christianity and Jesus, it just so happens that for all these characters, adherence to Republican ideology and dogma overrides adherence to Christian dogma. Think about that. For them, politics comes first. That's why they said, I love Trump. Trump, the guy who got caught on tape saying, I grab him by the pussy, I don't even wait. Trump, who's hardline anti-immigration, even though the Bible's massively pro-immigration. Trump, who's bombing 8 different countries. Trump, who cheated on multiple of his wives. That dude, the serial philandering fucking debauchery king, that guy, the money lover who the Bible says he's, said the money changers are evil. That guy. That's the guy who you're going to back? Because they care more about Pat Robertson is more about anti-abortion stuff. He's more about tax cuts for the rich. Again, totally flies in the face. Even the abortion stuff is not consistent with the Bible. The Bible says that if your wife cheats on you, she should drink bitter water, and that'll make her miscarry. That'll give her an abortion, and that's what should happen. So if your wife cheats on you, the Bible prescribes get an abortion. Can't make this stuff up, man. But they will only focus on the stuff that bolsters their argument in the Bible and ignore everything else that says the opposite. So they just, again, their real marriage is to Republican politics over a marriage to the philosophy of Jesus or the New Testament or whatever the case is. And it's just such a clear example of it. You know, one of the leading Christian televangelists in the country is like,
wouldn't it be great if we did a drone strike on a guy who I don't like, who's running a foreign country that's not threatening us? I think it's wonderful.